Good evening. My name is Jay Rothman. I am the host of the show. Welcome to Real Men, Real Talk Live. Welcome back to the studio. I am the host of the show. Again, my name is Jay Rothman, and I'm excited to introduce this evening, coming in from Australia. He is the man of the land from down under, 𝙒𝙗𝙗𝙗. Welcome to the show this evening, Ev.
As always, my brothers, thank you, thank you, thank you.
We have Josh Richard. Los Angeles is where he calls home tonight. Welcome to the show, Josh Richard.
Happy to be here.
And, of course, Jeff Fasano back from the Big Apple this evening. He is in Nashville, Tennessee. It is Friday evening in the U.S., Saturday overseas. And the Men in Black showed up tonight on Real Men, Real Talk. Another week is upon us. I don't know. These weeks are just kind of weird. We are in a fast forward right now in 2021. I want to take a moment here, gentlemen, to welcome our viewers this evening, whether you're coming in from Facebook Live, YouTube Live, or LinkedIn Live. We are welcoming you to the show this evening. If you should hear something that you like or love, drop it down into the comment section. If you have any questions for us, drop it there as well. And always, we invite you to light us up with a tapping of your love button on your monitor. And welcome to the show, gentlemen. Tonight's topic, 71, episode 71. This has been a heck of a week. At least I'll speak for myself. I know each one of you has always got something going on up your sleeve, but tonight's topic is a hot topic, and it's all about sexual energy. And so welcome, viewers, to our show this evening. It's a hot topic tonight, and hopefully you'll hear something that maybe you'll take out of tonight's episode that you didn't know before you joined us. I can tell you, gentlemen, I gained actually a few insights in the last day or so, learning more about sexual energy and its impact on our life. Some things I didn't know up until this moment. And so what I'd like to do is, Ev, since you're on the top shelf right now, I'm going to invite you to kick off the show this evening, warm us up, and get us hot in the sexual energy.
Ooh, Mr. Jay the Rothman, my brothers there on the other side of the pond, and my other sisters. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And as Jay said, we're going to start warming things up. It's going to get juicy up in here on Real Men Real Talk Live tonight. But as always, thank you from the bottom of my hearts. Without you guys supporting, giving your undivided attention, the show would not be possible. So we really appreciate you. We appreciate you. If you can share it out into the community, because particularly as tonight's show, a lot of these important messages are really going to help us with our ascension. So we're talking about sexual energy, and it's all got to do with ascension. It's got a lot to do with ascension, my brothers and sisters. You know, this particular subject has been such a taboo subject, I think, worldwide. But when you really do your learning in ancient cultures and different scriptures, you start to see that it wasn't so much of a taboo subject, but it was actually a sacred subject. It was a beautiful subject which really talked about this beautiful sexual energy being such a creative force that each and all of us really have the option, the potential, the choice to be able to utilize in creation itself. You know, in my personal experience with this sexual energy, I would only say really over the last 5 to sort of 10 years have I really gained knowledge to have a much more mature sense of what this sexual energy is all about and how I can use it as a co-creative spark and really process to allow me to manifest in the physical realm. You know, a lot of my life, I think growing up, particularly through those teens, as I'm sure many of us, you know, we let a lot of these hormones run wild. We allow external forces to really take the throne, so to speak, and really shed some of that sexual energy away from being utilized in a much more sufficient and efficient way within our lives. But look, tonight on the show, I think we've got to start diving in deep about the history of this sexual energy. Where does it come from? How have we been using it? And how can we use it in a much more healthier manner to be able to ascend, not only individually on this planet right now, but as the one here in 2021. So yeah, my brothers, looking forward to diving in deep. Let's go.
Where does it come from?
I like
Where
hey,
does sexual energy come from?
hey, Jeff, before you jump in there, I like how you said how we are using it. And what I heard you say is, and how many of us have been abusing it.
Yep.
Is it a blessing or is it a burden? How are we using or channeling our sexual energy? And really, what is at the root of our sexual energy? Jeff Fasano?
Well, I'm going to use a J. Rothman term here. If you show up and grow up, then you'll start to understand your sexual energy.
All right. Well, I've showed up, so it's time for me to grow up.
You know,
what
because
does that mean?
Well, it's our creative energy.
It's
first chakra creative energy. It's really as we mature and go deeper into it, if we look back in our younger years and maybe our teens or 20s, even in 30s, probably most immature men in their 40s and 50s, look at it and objectify people with it, because it's really an energy, and that energy builds, and it's a creative energy. It's the energy that artists tap into. It's the energy to create your life with. It's the energy to create anything you would like to create with. It's an energy. So that energy is, once I'm thinking about EVs, the steps. What is it? What were those three things you said, Ev? What is it?
How we've been using it.
How we've been using it.
What is a healthier way to be able to?
What is a healthier way of doing it? Well, it's understanding it first. It's growing into a place of maturity to understand what this energy is. And to begin to understand it is to begin with that. It's your creative energy. It's a creative energy within us. It's an energy that I use and tap into as a photographer. It's the feelings that come up as an artist that we create with it. And when I'm creating as a photographer, I'm releasing that energy. And then when I'm doing what I'm doing, in many ways, I have the same feelings energetically that I have if I'm actually in a sexual encounter with someone. It's the same amount of energy you're doing it with, and that's the creative part. Where we get bogged down, especially with men, is when that energy starts to build and build and build inside of us, and we don't know what to do with it or how to do with it, or as it builds, we don't understand what's building. We then look outside of ourselves and objectify someone that we want to release this energy with.
Ooh.
And then once we pick that object and objectify that person, and that happens, and we release that energy, what happens after that? Where do you go after that? So if we look at it, like Ev said, what is it? It's an energy. An energy within us that we can use more healthy, understanding it, and then, go back and look at wow, if I understand it now, what have I done in the past?
Jeff, I want to bring up and acknowledge Christopher Peckham coming in from Flagstaff, Arizona. He says, at the root of sexual energy is something sensitive, like the roots of a plant that require care to build. What is it? How do you use it? And what is healthy about it?
I think I just explained what's healthy about it. It's your creative energy. Using that energy to create life, to create your life.
Josh, I want to invite you, Josh, to jump in. Go ahead, Josh. So your time.
It's a currency. You know, it's a give and a take. It's not something to hold or covet or I guess sort of like stash away. It's a flow. It's something we tap into, and it's something that we exchange with other people. And so therefore it makes it something that we could never sort of like, I guess I'm trying to find the words that maybe I'm not expressing very well, but it's something that we don't hold or contain or ever like keep within ourselves. It's something that there's a free flow to it forever.
Hey, Josh, could it be it's another, not another. What I think maybe what you're saying is that when that energy builds, we've got to express it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Jeff. If let's say we're not in a relationship, an intimate relationship with someone else, and we are single, we choose to be single, or not in a committed relationship. How can we channel sexual energy in a healthy way? Because it's there. It's there, regardless if we're in a relationship or not. How can we channel it in a healthy way that may or may not include sex by ourselves?
Oh, I mean, for me, it's always been, I don't know about you, Jeff. I mean, because you're, also in the creative field, but for me, it's always been like, making furniture, building furniture, creating something. It's a need. It's an absolute need to express. Like there's this spring of something inside of me that I need to let out.
Yeah, and when the energy comes up and the feelings, a great way to do this is you feel that energy, and you're feeling the energy come up along with it. What am I feeling? What am I feeling right now? What are the feelings that are coming up with it? And be with the feelings and start to understand it instead of having to go. It's almost in a way, it's if you start to feel angry in a combustible way, and you want to release that anger and project that anger possibly unhealthfully onto someone. So if you think of that, I'm feeling really, and the anger is building. How many of us have? I did it in New York last week. How many have projected that energy, that anger, the feeling of anger onto someone else? So that is within us. And then once we project it, once we get it out, it's like we just did that. So the same thing with sexual energy. When the sexual energy builds and builds and builds, what we want to do is we want to release it. But what comes after the release?
I'm going to jump in there, my brother, if you don't mind.
No, of course.
This is the masculine energy that we're really talking about on this show tonight. What you guys are talking about there is the express of this sexual energy, the explosion of this sexual energy. But I want my brothers and sisters to understand that this is a very beautiful feminine energy. The sexual energy is a feminine energy. So we've got to think about impressing it. We've got to think about imploding it. It's not just have to be an expressive energy onto the outside world, whether that's physically, whether that's emotionally, whether that's spiritually. This is about you raising up to your highest mind, my brothers and sisters, getting out of the lowest mind. You see, when we start to really understand the sexual energy and its beautiful feminine nature, then we can start balancing out this beautiful masculine and feminine energy, having the dance in the Garden of Eden. So when I talk about learning the history of where all this is coming from, we've got to really understand these stories that we've grown up with. You know, we touched on, you know, because of old belief systems, we think we've got to project and express this creation out onto the world. These are old programs based on old conditioning. When you have a look at that story of Adam and Eve in the garden, taking a bite of the tree of apple from the tree of life, we're talking about the ejaculation of the sexual energy, the ejection, the explosion of the sexual energy. What I'm talking about is being able to implode that energy, being able to raise that kundalini, that sacred serpent, like Moses did with the serpent. In my culture, we call it the serpent dreaming. And guess what? It was called the rainbow serpent dreaming. You see, this story has been shared worldwide, my brothers and sisters. We all share a common language. But when we're able to start firstly understanding this history we've grown up with, then we can start seeing how just powerful each and all of us are with something like this sexual energy within our body, because it is a beautiful co-creative energy. So, like I said, we can either make it a heaven on hell down here, heaven on hell, the lower part of your mind, or you could be imploding this energy within, raising what is known as the chrism or the Christos up to a higher part of your mind, and that is when it is heaven on earth, my brothers and sisters. Boom. Boom.
Hey,
I'm talking about inner orgasms.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey,
I want to hear more about that.
well,
Yeah,
I wanna,
man. Let's go. Let's go.
I'd like to ask Ev a question. So in the chakra system, okay, what we like to do is we like to connect our chakras and have them all interconnected with each other. So our sexual energy is first chakra. What you're saying, when the rise of that energy comes up, it's almost about now moving it into our heart space.
Let me get Jay. Just pause for a sec. One of you talk for a sec. I'm going to give you a good demonstration of the chakras. 1 second. Take it over.
Let's do it.
It's about connecting our chakras, and we want to connect all of our chakras into our heart space. That is where we want. That's where we want it. All of it, first to third, second to third, all of it in.
What I want to get at, Jeff, is to understand as a man and as men, how can we channel our sexual energy in many different ways so that we're just not living in a very, very rigid, narrow, focused tunnel or chamber, no pun intended, of releasing the sexual energy. What are some of the other ways that we can release it that are actually healthy for us, that actually are as orgasmic?
Jay, I think going back to what Ev just said, why do we have to release it?
Exactly. Let me just take you through this quick demo, Jay. Let me take you through this, all right?
All right.
Let's have a glass of wine on this, my brothers and sisters, because it's a sexual energy, isn't it? It's a beautiful energy. So we're looking at a wine glass there. Going to put some pure love right down there, just at the bottom of that particular glass. Now, I like to also use a demo when I'm trying to demo these chakras as well. And just give us a thumbs up out there, my brothers and sisters. If you've heard of chakras for one, I'm sure a lot of our community don't know what it's about. Because these energy wheels that you might know them, let's just say that they're inner lenses within each and all of us that have the ability to see the world from within, without. Now, at the base here of this particular wine glass, we might know as what is also called the black chakra, the cosmic chakra. Let's think of a tree. Let's think of the soil, all right? The soil of that tree, that life force, creative energy, the foundation. On the base, on the stem of that wine glass, that is your root. That is you feeling secure in the world from the years of 0 to 2 years old. That is your foundation, my brothers and sisters. At here, this part of the wine glass, that is called your sacral energy. That's called your sacral chakra right there. Now, in that sacral, we're talking about 2 to 4 years old. You've come into the world, your root from the foundation of that cosmic energy, that very void, that dark space, that emptiness, that potential. You've come up the bridge through the root, secure your foundation within the world. And the sacral is feeling you. You start to really understand yourself through the relationships of the outside world of how you are about yourself. Not about how you think about yourself or how they make you feel, but you become aware of you, of other relationships. It's in here, my brothers and sisters, that is the sexual energy, the sexuality, your sensuality, and your creativity is in your sacral chakra. This is also where the women have their womb. That's why you're called a womb man. You're a woman, a womb man. Men, you have an etheric womb. They are also where your seeds are, your seed, because you are an inventor, my brothers. You have seeds come from this soil, this foundation that you've built up, that you have the ability to now co-create with that divine feminine to co-create a life into the world. Now, let's get not past ourselves and go up to this solar and the heart. Let's stay down here in this pure love, in these pure waters. Now, if you were starting to have those relationships within your life that made you feel dirty, that made you feel murky, that just made you feel unsure about yourself, maybe there was some trauma, there may have been some abuse within your life. These waters here, they stay still. They become dirty. They don't move. When we're able to release some of that guilt, some of that shame, some of the fear within our lives that may have been caused by certain relationships in our lives, these waters here become flowing again. That's why we call this sexual energy flowing. It can become a true currency, like Josh is saying, or it can become a real dormant potential energy that doesn't flow. This is where disease gets caused, my brothers and sisters. So when we start to understand just some of these basics about some of these first, particularly those two right there, that root and that sacral, we can understand why we've got to start moving these waters freely. But it's got to come from the release of some of that old wounding, my brothers and sisters. And we're always talking about on here on Real Men Real Talk Live. So that's just a quick demo of those first 2 or 3 chakras.
Wow. I think that may be our first demo. Episode 71. It took us 71 episodes to take us to a demo. And it had to happen on tonight's topic of sexual energy, which really, I think really where we're going to head into is sexual healing.
Right.
How do we take the murky waters that are basically, as you described, it's the block due to past experiences in our life, whether we encountered, you don't have to encounter sexual trauma or sexual abuse of any kind to have murky waters. It could be being shut down from your creative, from being playful as a child, from receiving religious philosophy in your home, as far as sex being a sin other than for manifesting new life. There's many different factors that create the perfect storm for the murky water.
Mm-hmm.
How do we filter the mud out of the water so that it can begin to flow again? How do we heal the sexual energy that's been blocked for some of us into our 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s?
Mm.
And before one of you guys jump into that answer, I do want to preference that, at least for me, I was one of those men that really, I really didn't understand from a sacred or spiritual perspective what sexual energy is about. As a man, as a toxic masculine man, the way I showed up in my life, it was all about the orgasmic release. It was all about releasing that charge so that I can calm down. And I used sex as a means of regulating my emotions.
Mm.
And in the end, it didn't work so well. I mean, it caused more pain than not. It caused the waters to remain murky.
Mm.
So how do we heal our sexual energy?
A lot of people, and I know that me included, think and thought that if I'm having sex, I'm making a connection.
Ooh.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm having sex, then I'm in control.
Mm.
Two very wounded things.
Mm.
Yeah.
The connection is made through the heart space. That's what I was bringing up earlier.
Mm.
Connection is not made through the first chakra. All connection is through our heart space. So that is one way, just for the folks out there to look at it. You know, if I want to have sex with someone, am I misconstruing it that then there will be a connection?
Mm.
And do I feel in control of that?
Mm.
So where you can go with it is that thinking that I'm going to have a connection, because that's a linear connection.
Mm.
As Josh said earlier, a connection in the heart space is this. It's a balance of giving and receiving. It's a flow.
Mm.
That's the connection in the heart space. And that's scary. That's scary for so many people. And it was scary for me. And at times it still is. Because that's where you open your heart, and then all the feelings of vulnerability come up. All your shame, all your judgment comes up in that, because what you're doing is opening your heart space. And all of a sudden you realize, wow, this sex thing is not really a connection.
Mm.
I think, and that's through. I did that. You know?
Go ahead, Josh.
And Jeff, I've spent years in that space where we want to connect, we desire that connection, and we're literally living out a physical experience, but it doesn't give us what we want.
No,
it doesn't give us that connection.
Josh, what do you think is from your own experience, not from a theory or not from a book, what has been your own journey of healing your own sexual energy? And where, if I may ask, because this is a show about vulnerability, where are you at in your own relationship with sexual energy and healing?
I've been on both sides of the fence, in the sense that, like, I mean, yes, that immediate sexual sort of kick gives us that dopamine release that the brain wants. And so, yes, therefore I've been on the side where I was needing and I was wanting to fill this hole or this void or this, I was wanting to fill something in me that I wasn't getting for decades before at this sort of sexual energy. And so, yeah, it was that dopamine kick, that release, that it felt great. And it was enough for the moment. And then I needed another moment and more experienes to fill that void. So, so yeah, I know trying to like, I guess I consider it sort of like throwing energy down an empty hole in a sense that it feels great for a second, but you need more, and then you need more, and then you need more. So, I know what that's like. And then I also know what, the true love exchange energy experience feels like, where you're actually filling up each other's cups, and not just throwing energy down a bottomless pit. So it's extremely different, and it's very different. And it's easy to get caught up in the fact that it's easy to get caught up in the feel good. Like, oh, wow, I'm into this woman, and she's great, and we're going to have this sexual experience, and that feels good for the moment. It's easy to get caught up in that versus a true energy exchange of a loving, respecting partnership.
I want to bring to the moment here, Josh. Carrie Crary says, well, that's actually what I want to come back here. What she said here is it, as in, I think sexual energy is what she's referring to. It clouds judgment with a flood of hormones that can create false connections.
Sure.
Which hormones, gentlemen, are we talking about here?
Oh man, there's many. Testosterone, oxytocin. What other feel good hormones out there?
Serotonin.
Yeah.
All these things coming down from the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, all of it. Testes.
Yep. It's not a balance, and it's not fulfilling.
Yeah.
When it's there, and there, like what Josh said earlier in the show, it's a balance. It's giving and receiving. And when we're releasing that sexual energy, it's like why I brought up earlier, if I'm feeling incredibly angry, combustible, to where I can't find a creative or a healthy way to move through that energy and move through those feelings, we're going to project it onto someone, some unknowing person, and then we're going to feel wonderful because we released it. Same thing with sexual energy. It's a linear thing, and it's an objectifying thing. So that is why we want to release it. And what Josh just said, you release it, and you might sit there and going, oh, wow, I just released a whole bunch of energy, and oh, wow.
Yeah. It really comes down to that depletion, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like
talk to us about that, Av. What does depletion mean for you?
Well, like we're talking about this sexual energy, particularly as men, I mean, when you're releasing that ejaculation, you're really releasing the cell salts of your brain. And that's why they call this sexual energy. That's why it's known, like I said, as the chrism, or the Greeks would say the Christos. It's a sacred oil. But this is happening up in the higher part of your brain. And you got to think, what is creating this whole pleasuristic, this whole lustful thing, an example, we might be looking at the other sexual energy that we may be attracted to, and then all of a sudden we may be erected. Where is it coming from? It's coming from a thought.
Mm-hmm.
So your observation, you created this thought, which what? It creates an emotion. So my thing is, like I keep saying, we have to go back to these emotions, my brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Your emotions are forming in that second chakra. That's why it's so important in the sacral to go back. I mean, you might have a heavy book that you've got to go back to each sexual experience that you've had within your life and find out not so much about who it was, but why and what were you attracting, what energy were you attracting into your life. Then write down and journal, how did that make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
I know from personal experience, and I've told the brothers this, going back into that sacral chakra cleansing and connection that I do, I go back and you might find an unconscious energy that you still need to release. And that doesn't take ejaculation. That takes you journaling the emotions that are blocking you from being able to use this sexual energy in a much more efficient and healthy way for yourself. That is the key, my brothers and sisters. It is such a beautiful, beautiful energy if used properly.
So you just gave a nugget right there. That's a tip right there, or a tool. Is one way to release or do some healing in your sacral chakra is through journaling the feelings around your past history.
Yeah, man.
Is story, if you're a female.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a male, his mystery.
Oh yeah.
Around
and it's uncomfortable, my brothers and sisters. It's so uncomfortable. It's confronting. But if you do the work, it's so cleansing. So cleansing.
It's about having those, when that energy starts to build, what am I feeling?
Here's a bigger question, Jeff. I think for me, what's on my mind is, okay, so let's say you're not in a relationship, or you're in a relationship even, and your agreement is we're not going to be sexual. We're gonna create a friendship first, a soul-to-soul connection without the sex. How do we channel the sexual energy in a healthy way, even if whether we're in a relationship or not? How do we channel our sexual energy without having sex? Is that possible? And what does that look like?
Go for it, Ev.
I'm with you, Jay.
Why don't you do some? Sorry, Josh, you go.
No, I'm with you, Jay. Like seriously, I have a lot of creative energy and I have a lot of sexual energy, and I feel like both of those need expressing, almost daily. And so, yeah, when you're not in a relationship, or when you are in a relationship that maybe isn't, I don't know, isn't meeting that same level of your sexual expression, what does that look like? Like, how does that play out? And how does that, because I think a lot of times, us guys are ready to go 24/7. And women need a bit of priming of the pot. We have to sort of like meet them at a specific energy, and we have to work towards it. We have to kind of like sort of build on this sexual energy, rather than us guys being able to kind of like turn it on like a light switch. So yeah, what is that? It begs the question, what does that look like?
I don't know. I've met a few women in my lifetime where the tables were turned, Josh.
How did you confront that, Jeff?
You just be with it. Every situation is what it is. You know, it's about being in the situation and negotiating. Every situation, every relationship is a negotiation. So just negotiate where you are with it, what you want. It's about moving back within, say, do I want this? Communicate, all that good stuff. But that's not, we're not talking about communication in relationships. But it's you know, yeah, in my lifetime, I've encountered women and who, you know, probably had maybe, you know, their masculine energy up or whatever it is, who, you know, were very forthcoming with it. And I'd go, oh, okay. You know, then I've met women where that's what I wanted, but it was always a negotiation. Where are you? What do you need? What do you want? How you feeling? This is what I'm feeling, yada, yada, all that good stuff. That's why I, you know, show up and grow up. It's about growing up, growing into this, growing into being aware of what you're feeling. So being aware of when this sexual energy builds, as Ev said, it's about not so much I've got to release it because the tension is so intense. Be with the feeling. What am I feeling? What do I want? What do I really want? Do I have to go out on the prowl and conquer someone and objectify it so I can just release this energy? And then it's like, what do I do after that? So it's an inner movement of understanding it, knowing what it is. You know, as an artist, if I haven't picked up my camera in a week, that energy starts to build so deeply inside of me. And I pick up my camera and I go out and I create. And after I create, because I'm creating, there's a balance. There's that balance. That creating energy is a balance. And I'm not, you know, projecting it out there. I'm with whatever I'm doing, photographing, like, you know, maybe going photographing a band or doing whatever I want. And then you feel that energy move, and the energy begins in the first chakra, like Ev said, and you're with it. So there's many ways to be with this energy, but it's about, like I said earlier, maturing to like, what am I feeling with this, instead of do I have to get rid of it?
So there's many different ways that I have experienced to embrace sexual energy. We've touched on it a bit tonight, and what I find is that when I'm out of my head more and into my heart space more, I am much more creative in my life. And my creativity can come out in many different ways, which I didn't know until we really dived into this topic for the week of sexual energy, is that different ways that I release my own sexual energy is through connecting with people in a very platonic, safe way, but connecting soul to soul, through music, just listening to music, or even singing with the music, dancing with the music, writing, journaling, blogging, being in nature. A beautiful way for me to release the energy in a healthy way. For some people, it's getting creative in the kitchen. It's baking. It's cooking. It's creating something new and different. It may even be painting a wall. You could see my background. We got some paint samples right now splashed because we're going to take some of our sexual energy and change the color of the wall.
Beautiful.
So there's many different ways to honor and respect our sexual energy. And I think where, speaking as a man, for most of my adult life, I didn't know what I didn't know. I only knew one way to channel my sexual energy, and that was through sex. And sex for me was, unfortunately, was never sacred. It was just about release, orgasm.
Yeah.
And even though ultimately it's not what I wanted was that deeper connection. I didn't know how to have it with somebody else because I didn't even know how to have it with myself.
There you go.
So this has been an absolutely beautiful topic for me because I'll tell you, Mary Kelly, who's moderating tonight's show, she posted a link to a video that we watched early this morning that was shared to us by one of our viewers that lives in Arizona. Ann, thank you for sharing that with us this morning. It's a beautiful, absolutely beautiful video of this woman that shares her perspective on sexual energy and the healing process. She shares a lot of tips and tools and tricks on how to reestablish your relationship with your own sexual energy. And because of us deciding, Josh Richer, I think it was you, Josh, that suggested that this be our topic for the week. Thank you. Because you really opened the gateway, opened the crack in the window for me to really hone in on what sexual energy is about, and that it doesn't have to always be released the only way that I was taught as a young teenager on how to balance or release my sexual energy. And knowing today that it's so much more sacred than that. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to changing my relationship with my own sexual energy because of tonight's show. So thank you, gentlemen, for that.
And it's so funny. I think for my entire, I guess I can only speak for myself. But my entire life, I felt that sexual energy meant an exchange with somebody else. And I think what I've realized in the last few years is that it's actually all about me. It's all about the love I have for myself. It's all about the compassion I have for myself. It's all about the exchange of energy I have with me. And what that is with another person is me sharing the deep love and honor and expression of myself and the love for myself with someone else. And so it's not that I'm requiring or needing anything from anyone else. I have everything right here, and I'm just sharing that. So
welcome home, brother.
I want to take a moment here, gentlemen, because Josh, you just kind of warmed me up. I want to take a moment here to invite all four of us and our viewers to take a nice deep breath in. And as you inhale and hold it, take a moment to just honor your own sexual energy. And let this moment be the moment of pivot and shift within yourself to begin your own sexual healing between your first and second chakras. And part of that is understanding the truth, the law of nature. And the truth is that if you experienced an unhealthy relationship within yourself around sexual energy, it's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's not because you don't get it. It's only because most of us didn't know what we didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have an understanding as to how much our younger years experiences had created a block for our own relationship with our own sexual energy. And as men specifically, many of us were not taught how to heal those wounds, heal that relationship, and how to channel our sexual energy in a healthy way. I could tell you, gentlemen, that I lived in bondage around sexual energy my entire adult life. And it's a work in progress. But I know this is that freedom comes when we're willing to surrender and acknowledge that, yes, I'm ready. It's time.
Yeah.
It's time for me to honor and respect that part of myself that I have abused over my lifetime. Are you gentlemen ready to honor and respect your own sacred relationship with sexual energy?
Yeah, man.
So what does that look like? We're coming up on the hour. We got about 9 minutes to the hour. So I want to jump into what I want to call the closing portion of tonight's show. And for me, I want to invite each one of you to perhaps maybe share what your takeaways from tonight's show is, as well as what are you willing to commit to yourself as far as the healing around your own sexual energy. What is it that in this moment you're willing to commit to for yourself to do some healing around sexual energy? And I'm willing to go first. But you know what?
Do it.
I've spent 5 minutes now holding the floor here, so I'm going to invite Jeff Fasano. You're up first, my friend.
No, you just said you wanted to go first. I thought you were going to go first. Is this like an executive decision?
Yeah, I just made one.
CEO.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Really?
Go on, Jeff. What's your commitment to
first? He always goes last.
Kick us off, brother. Love you.
Take a nice deep breath. Come from your heart, not from your head. That's always the first key to breaking through on Real Men Real Talk.
Are you talking to me?
I'm talking to you.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah,
you talking to me?
Travis Bickle. Wow. I think Jay just said it. Take a big, deep breath and move into your heart. Really, that's about all I can come up with. Take a big, deep breath. When the energy starts to rise within you, like Ev said, the kundalini, the sexual energy, whatever you want to call it, starts to rise within you. Take a big, deep breath and move into your heart. What do you want? I have realized on so many levels what is really important to me now. And it's the exchange of energy in my heart space with someone else. That sexual energy could rise, but through my experience and my years of experience with this, it's not that linear connection that I want. About having the courage to open my heart space.
Yeah.
That's where the courage is, folks. It's very easy to, when that sexual energy starts to rise, to go out and find someone to release it with. The challenging part, at least for me, is to go into my heart space and connect that sexual energy with my heart space and open that up, as opposed to objectifying. Men objectify. Men want to conquer. It's all about conquering what they need to conquer out there. Been there, done that. As I go back to what Josh began with tonight, it's that giving and receiving through your heart space, and then expressing it with your sexual energy with someone else. That's what I'm committed to.
Love that.
Beautiful, brother.
Beautiful. Jeff Fasano, committing right here, right now. Real Men, Real Talk Live. I do want to bring this up. I know we're in a close, but I think this is worthy of sharing. Elizabeth Richter coming in from overseas tonight, long way from the US of A, but you are right here with us, and we are holding space, and we are loving you all over the place. Elizabeth, this is for you, my friend.
Spiritual hugs, sister. Spiritual hugs.
Yeah.
She says, when I finally feel worthy and start to love myself, I finally start to explore my own sexual energy.
Magic.
Ev, I'm going to invite you to rebound off of what Elizabeth just shared. Again, she says, when I finally feel worthy and start to love myself, I finally start to explore my own sexual energy. Now, what I'm hearing in there, Ev, is self-forgiveness and honoring herself. What does this statement mean to you and your own personal journey in healing your own sexual energy? And what is your, and any tips and tricks? I know you talked about journaling as one tool to heal around sexual energy. But what do you make of what Elizabeth just shared? And put
Can
a
you
pretty
just can you just leave that up again, brother, please?
Absolutely.
It's such a beautiful statement. It gives me a really beautiful path, you know, to really end with my close. And you know, we've had a beautiful talk tonight and discussion, a very mature discussion. I think we're starting to get a clearer, much more purer understanding of what this sexual energy is all about. Sister out there, she's gracefully mentioned, you know, when she was finally able to really heal some of that worthiness, some of that doubt, some of that shame possibly within her life. She was able to come back home to love thyself, to be able to even explore some of that sexual energy. I talked a little bit about the old demo in the wine glass, and you know, that beautiful expression of being able to move through those waters down here. You know, it's in those waters that, you know, like, I'm not going to speak for my sister, but from people that I've helped in the past, that we hold some of these emotions that keep us out of that love for self. You know, like we've mentioned, that guilt, that shame, and that blame. I think my experience from really being able to come to an understanding within my life of the sexual energy, it really does go back to the childhood. You know, I grew up in an environment where it was a quite sexual environment. And, you know, I think back to myself when I've done my own healing and started to understand, you know, why I would have been feeling a little bit rejected within my own life, and how some of these things play and intertwine with each other to be able to really cultivate and experience this power and this co-creative energy that we're talking about here tonight. When I was able to heal some of those blocked murky waters, some of those blocked emotions, that let's be honest too, my brothers and sisters, when we're talking about this sexual energy, it does not necessarily mean just that sexual energy with that other beloved. You know, there may have been a sexual energy in there that you were confused with within your own household as a child. You know, however that made you feel, those emotions are really a beautiful gateway to each and all of our lives to be able to get those waters moving. That's why we call it the energy, the emotion. It gets the motion flowing. You see, when I've gone through rejection in my life, whether it was from the other person, not allowing me into their life, you know, not making us feel worthy, and being able to build that own confidence within myself, I was able to move up that wine glass. I was able to move more into my sun, my solar, which we might know as the solar plexus chakra. That gives you a sense of confidence. That's your sense of demonstration. What are you going to demonstrate into the world now, my brothers and sisters, once you've got that confidence? You may not have had that confidence as a child. You may not have been told about your worth. You may not have been told about your value, your energy that allows you to create those waters in motion that may be blocked within your life. When we're able to build that confidence within our own lives and find that own love for self, my brothers and sisters, we're able to rise out of that solar and come into that sacred part of each and all of us, which is the heart chakra or the heart space. We then divinely, we start coming back home to self. That is the true gateway. It is the true expression of unconditional love. Let's not get it wrong, my brothers and sisters. There's nothing wrong with the sexual act, the sexual connection. It's a beautiful connection that each and all of us should be able to experience down here on planet Earth. When we're able to express that divinely through that heart opening, that chakra, through those other ones being released at the bottom of who we've been, the foundation, and grow that confidence and self-love within our own lives, we're rising again, my brothers and sisters, and we're able to express it out into the world. That's your throat chakra. Have you ever wondered to yourself why you haven't been able to express yourself into the world? Have you felt blocked still from those murky waters? So when we start to express ourselves and we may be able to communicate our sexual needs, we may be able to communicate some of those things that make us feel bliss, that make us feel joy, that make us feel happiness. Then we're able to come up into the real magic with our inside, or some people might know it as the first eye. We're able to see now clearly in the world. When we start to connect with this beautiful sexual energy, with the insight, the intuition, the imagination, we're able to then even process and work with this beautiful sexual energy in ways that you could never imagine, my brothers and sisters, within. So then we can allow the beautiful rise, and some might know it as St. Peter slaying the dragon of the serpent, rising to the peak of your soul, your divine self, to really have heaven on earth. And that, my brothers and sisters, is the rainbow serpent dreaming.
Let's just take a nice deep breath here. Let's let that drop down deep into our chakras right now. Let's remain open. If it helps you, viewers, to open your arms, release the tight fist, open your palms of your fingers of your hand. If you heard one thing that ever shared, let it drop down in. I invite each one of you to watch the show on replay, because if you are engaged in commenting, you may miss the most important thing that you needed to hear. And if you think you heard the most important thing, watch the replay, because what I've learned in my own healing journey is repetition is the key to rewiring the brain. Absolutely powerful words and wisdom shared in this moment. Ev, as I listen to you, my heart filled with so much gratitude that you're part of this community, this show, this love fest of healing mind, body, and soul. You bring such incredible wisdom, hope, inspiration, and insights to each one of us that come open to receive your message. Thank you for being you. Evis, love, Heath.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
You, my friend, are a mentor and a student, and I love you for that. Thank you.
Thanks, my brother.
Josh, this is wow. Wow, this is wow.
Jay's blown away.
What do you make? I'm just releasing my own sexual energy in this moment is what I've been doing.
I'm gonna be we promise every week to show up real, to show up raw, and to show up as ourselves. And that's all that the show is about, is that we promise to show up. And so I'm going to show up tonight and say that I'm not I don't know the balance of my sexual energy, in a sense that I've been I guess I've been exploring my energy with different women and things like that, and maybe not as balanced as I could be, in a sense that I feel like maybe I've been more in the lack or need energy than in the sort of balance. And I don't know. This is me being honest and real, and not exactly being able to, life is funny. We don't, it's dirty, sticky, messy. It's not always clear. And so I guess I'm trying to articulate what my life is like right now, but maybe lacking the words. So yeah, but this is me being real with all of you. And so I wouldn't say my sexual energy is in balance currently. I'm probably slightly out of balance, but in real men, real fashion, showing up honestly for you all.
Thank you, Josh.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh, aren't we? One of the things that I've learned lately is allowing ourselves to be in negotiation with ourselves.
Beautiful.
Love that, Jeff. Yeah, I think
compassion
often
is. I'm negotiating where I am right now with me.
I think often we sort of put a bad label on us being in a transition space or a space of like, but Jeff, I mean, you called it. It's like, I don't feel bad where I'm at. I don't feel that it's a negative space. I don't want to label it or shame it or, you know, whatever. Jeff, thank you for saying that. Seriously. That's the most beautiful thing.
I earlier just said that my challenge and where I want to be is in my heart space. So through my first chakra, as Ev said, that's where we learn to be safe in the world.
Yeah.
I'm in my life right now, opening my heart, but I'm in a negotiation within myself of this because it's new for me. What I've learned in the last couple of months from a gentleman who's a really good friend who I'm working with, he's the one who said, allow yourself, you're negotiating. It's new. You're stepping out into something new for you because it's important for you. So you're negotiating it with yourself. You don't have to know it. It's walking into an unknown place, but allowing yourself with compassion to be where you are, to even say, you know what? I want this. I might be frightened. Feelings are coming up. So what I'm doing is negotiating all of that. And the reason why we allow ourselves is because we're loving ourselves in that moment.
There you go, brother. There you go.
Exactly. Beautiful. Love it, Jeff. Thank you.
Damn, Mr. Rothman. Put a pretty bow, bow on this amazing show.
What are you negotiating, Jay, right now? What are you in negotiations with inside of you right now?
There's so much energy swirling.
God, that's man. That's the bigger question. That's the bigger question. Where, God, if we think about our entire lives, where we've shamed ourselves around sexual energy, and where we've, where we've vilified and basically have said we're bad people, based on our sexual energy. So yeah, for me, when I think back on the 20 of years that I've victimized myself or beat myself up or vilified who I am at the core, when all I was just a sexual being, a sexual guy. And so I don't know. That's what's hitting me right now, is that basically all the years that I really beat myself up over just being human, and how awful that was. So. I feel you all. We are all human, and I love you all. And there's nothing wrong with any of it.
There is so much opportunity for healing. We don't have to go far to find those that need it, desire it, are not even aware that they're seeking it. We just look in the mirror. Just look in the mirror. This for me has been one of the most powerful shows we've done. Because so much of our shows circle back to inner child, wounds, traumas, pivotal moments, the shadows, lack of self-worth, lack of self-love. And I never really saw the connection between sexual energy and self-forgiveness, or sexual energy and those pivotal moments or shadows that had impacted my young years in my childhood. And I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know the connection was so profound. And how exciting is it for all of us that have taken the hour and change to tune in tonight to understand that we're all seeking the same thing, a healthy balance within. And the part of us that was deeply, profoundly wounded was our feminine divine, even within ourselves as men, as children. And the guilt and shame were the biggest factors that created the block within our chakras, that created an imbalance in our sexual energy in our life. The first step to freedom is truth, honesty, vulnerability, which we all have done tonight. We've shown up and we've shared that. I can tell you guys and our viewers that I embrace this moment in my life. I have had a toxic relationship with sexual energy since I hit puberty. It wasn't one thing, it was many factors. And there's no blame. I'm done with that game. No more blame. But what I am ready to embrace is the healing process of that part of myself. I've done a lot of that work, but I didn't see the connection to sexual energy. If you are catching us on this episode tonight and you want some tips on where to begin, start right here. Listen to the replay, pick it up, take notes, process it, look in the mirror, strip down naked and look in that mirror and look at who you see. And if any emotions or feelings come up from within and you're not okay with what you see, get busy. Start writing those feelings. Dance naked in front of the mirror. Work on clearing the guilt and shame. No more blame, but heal that part of yourself that was impacted as that younger self. Open up your pelvic floor. Move your hips. Get wild with yourself. Turn on the music. Start to fall in love with who you are today. Release yourself. Clear yourself from those past programming, belief systems that have held you back from being your creative self, from being playful, from unblocking and protecting that heart space to receive and give love. One of the quickest ways to heal from disease, I believe, is to heal that heart. No one can do that for you. Show up and grow up. Why? Because you deserve that. That little boy inside, that little girl inside deserves that. That child's been waiting. To be released of the guilt and shame and those toxic downloads that impact our relationship with sexual energy. Gentlemen, it doesn't get any better than this. There's only one thing that can get better than this, is when all four of us are able to be in the same physical room together, touching and hugging, honoring each other in a way that we try to do our best each week. But we know what it's like when we are able to physically be together. I know what it's like. Somehow, some way, we gotta make this journey back home together. You guys are so beautiful. Peace and blessings. I love you guys. Viewers, please share tonight's show out. Share it with your friends and family. If you haven't gone to YouTube, please follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel to help our community grow on that channel. And my closing invite to you is take off your clothes tonight. Turn on a song that's one of your favorite songs. Maybe it's Happy from Pharrell. Or maybe it's Midnight Train to Georgia from Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Marvin Gaye, sexual healing, brother.
Right.
That's what I was.
There you go.
Yep.
Joan Osborne, shake your hips.
Pick your song, pick your tune, and move your body, open it up, start to move your pelvic floor, and open yourself up to total freedom from within. Yes, clean those waters.
Move those waters, brothers and sisters. Move them.
We'll see you guys. Have a beautiful weekend. Do some self-care. Start on that journey of sexual healing. We'll catch you guys next week on Real Men, Real Talk Live. Peace and blessings.
Love you all.